Hello everyone. Hello Chicago. And I'm sorry, I also got overwhelmed. Normally when professionals, the technical people, when they deal with their subjects over and over again, everything becomes clinical. Like doctors doing surgery. For a family, it can be death of a relative, but for a doctor, it becomes a very professional thing. And as a filmmaker, I have spent most of my life communicating. And whenever I have made a film, we see thousands of times at so many stages that ultimately it stops meaning anything. It's just like your name stops meaning anything because people take your name so often. But I'm surprised at myself that every time I see it, tears start rolling out. I get so emotional, and a lot of people blame me that I'm not a very emotional person. And I keep wondering, it's been 4 years. For a filmmaker, very rarely you will find filmmakers unless they are so committed to a subject to spend 4 years with a subject, not doing anything else, not earning money from anywhere, putting whatever they have into a subject. It's a long, long time. But after 4 years, why is it that I still feel exactly the same emotion which I felt when we started doing these interviews? So that is the first thing I want to tell you today. And as I was sitting here and I was thinking, why is it happening? I remember, Pallavi would remember, I also forgot about it, I just remembered. When we started these interviews, the idea was that Pallavi would interview everybody and I was the director behind the scene, behind the camera, seeing if everything is right or not. And the idea was that I will speak only to very few people who will talk about politics and non-emotional things. And from the first interview, I would see Pallavi would start crying after some time. And by the time we sit in the car to go to the next destination, her eyes would be red and swollen. And I told her in the car one day, I said, listen, you cannot go and I can't shoot you with swollen eyes and red eyes. We are professionals. We have to detach ourselves from these stories. It is for them to cry and to feel the pain, not for us. We have to do our job. That's why we are here. And I remember very next day I had to do some interviews. And as I said, you saw in some interviews how I was crying. And next couple of months, as this went on and on and on, by the time we reached back to India, Mumbai, our eyes were swollen, our hearts were broken, we were shattered people. And I want to confess today why. It wasn't because of the stories of pain and death. I have heard them many. For me, deaths don't mean anything. As a filmmaker, our characters are born every day, they die every day. The reason we were crying was because of our ignorance. How is it possible that despite being so educated, and I can say with pride that I am one of the most educated people, I kept educating myself until the society said, okay, this is your last chance, after this we won't consider you as a student. Despite being so politically, socially aware, despite knowing history so much, I come from a family of, my father translated all the Vedas, one of the greatest ancient scholars or Oriental scholars of India. Despite knowing everything, how is it possible that I was so ignorant? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. When I was speaking to Rakesh in the morning, and he told me that we are just passionate people getting together, it's not an organization, it's not a formal this thing. I said, no, let's formalize it. Let's call it something. And I immediately asked the back end to change the poster, and we called it Swami Vivekanand lecture series. Everybody talks about Swami Vivekanand. The problem with the modern world is, in this fast pace, not in US, everywhere, every community, every society. The problem is that all of us use concepts to cater to an agenda. It doesn't mean that agenda is a bad thing. Your agenda can be to educate your child, your agenda can be to take Indian flag and fly it at Empire State, but your agenda can be anything, it can be a good agenda. But we do not go to the depth, to the fundamentals of a problem. And which is why, especially in India, we suffer from so many problems which have been lingering for hundreds of years. The partition issues have not been solved as yet. Problems in Bengal, problems in Northeast, problems in Kerala, problems in Kashmir. It's not that we are not strong people, it's not that we are great people. It's because the world is not looking at us in the right perspective. Just because we are an independent country, just because we are a fast growing economy, just because Hindus are in majority, does not mean we have the same power which the majority of whites enjoy. And I'm going into an issue which I don't think anybody has discussed with you before. Even I have discovered it recently. You just saw PTSD. You saw about PTSD. She's sitting here, my sister. She spoke about it. She said, I still suffer from PTSD. It's been 30 years. She's in America. She's so successful. She has such a wonderful, big, sprawling house. She's a professional, but she suffers from that. When somebody shatters your heart, somebody colonizes your mind, and somebody destroys or dents or damages your identity, that's when you suffer from PTSD for a very, very long time. And therefore, it's very important to look at the Hindu society as a society which has been suffering from PTSD. Because we are the only society in the history of humanity which had all the greatest things going for it. We were the knowledge center of the world. We discovered all the greatest ideas of the world. What matters to people? Beyond a point, what does money? Money has no value. Everything boils down to your life, your mind, your happiness. Like I always say, when all these colonizers were conquering the geographical continents, the Hindu society was busy in conquering human mind. Western science till date doesn't understand the mind. The neuroscience is not, they have not understood the mind, but we did. And that's why we have the spirituality and yoga and meditation, because to live, everybody comes down to that. The greatest of the human and life sciences were discovered in this continent, in the subcontinent of India. Look at our greatness. There are religions, and I am not against any religion. I am a humanist. I think everybody should, in their geographical and cultural context, should have their own faiths and beliefs. But we are the only society in this world, or in the entire history of humankind, where the basis of religion is a system of thought, a thought system which doesn't call itself a religion. Hinduism never claimed itself to be religion. What is Hinduism after all? Everybody today, because of social media, has become a Hindu champion. Even the evil minds who were born in a Hindu family, destructive minds who were born in a Hindu family, call themselves champions of Hindu cause, call themselves Sanatani, and they feel guilt-free. But let me just tell you, what you think Hinduism is not what Hinduism is all about. And that's why a lot of Hindus hate me and they troll me all the times. Because I don't care about this ritualistic Hinduism, political Hinduism. I don't care about all these things. For me, Hinduism is not about Jai Shri Ram and Ayodhya and Ram Mandir. I am not a political Hindu. For me, Hinduism means millions and millions of gods. What does it mean, millions of gods? Millions of gods mean that there are millions of ways to reach the truth. There is one truth. Ultimately, Brahman. Since we are talking about Vivekananda, I am just repeating Vivekananda, I am paraphrasing Vivekananda. If I don't say this, a lot of people will tomorrow go on social media when they hear me and they destroy me, so I have to quote this. There is only one truth, the Brahman. And all of us are Brahman. Hindu philosophy begins with one sutra, that is Tattvam Asi. Aham Brahmasmi. You are God. And that you do not know that you are God is ignorance. Understanding that you are God is knowledge. Entire Hindu philosophy, to make it simple in one line, means moving from ignorance to knowledge. And which is why we are the only community which worships a goddess called Saraswati. Lakshmi, Durga and Saraswati. You need Durga also, you need Lakshmi, but without Saraswati, you will never understand how to use Lakshmi and Durga. It is very sad commentary that today in Hindu houses you will find Lakshmi and Durga statues, you won't find Saraswati. Your children would know about Durga and Lakshmi. They don't know about Saraswati. So whenever you will forget about Kashmir, you will start forgetting about the highest philosophies of Hinduism. What is Tattvamasi? Tattvamasi means you are that, thou art that, you are God. God means you are Brahman, you are part of it, and which is so logical that all Nobel Prize winning physicists have accepted it. They repeat it, they have written about it in their books, but Hindus don't talk about it. Have you heard any Hindu leader ever talking about it? What is that oneness? It simply means that this table, this podium I'm standing is made of wood, but it's a podium, but the source is wood. So there is no difference in any form or shape, it still is wood. So with any name, any form, any identity, ultimately the source is the same. And because of such great knowledge, another thing I always say, I want you to understand the greatness of Hindu research. The modern medical science was invented by cutting dead bodies. But some great researchers, rishis, scientists, whoever sitting in the land of Kashmir understood how many organs you have, how many parts you have, how to cure those diseases just by observing people. The entire science of meditation, the science of yoga and Ayurveda was discovered just by observing living people. Therefore, our science is a living science. And the modern medical science is about dead people. That's why you will find whoever practices, you ask any doctor what it means to be healthy, they will say not being sick. This is the understanding of modern medical science. And whereas the yoga works on by removing vrittis, by removing all these things and becoming one with the life energy. These are two different polarized things. Eastern and Western knowledge are two different things. And which is why, because we had such great knowledge about everything, we were the world's largest economy. The world depended on us. And today, everything, the modern science, the quantum physics, particle physics, medical science, every single science in the world is going back to what we discovered thousands and thousands of years ago, and specifically in the land of Kashmir. Kashmir was the Silicon Valley, like you heard in the film yesterday. And some people were destroying this Silicon Valley. It didn't matter to us. People destroyed this knowledge. It didn't matter to us. For 1,000 years, we were ruled by the minority. First, by the Islamic minority. They were minority in India. When the invaders came, tyrants came, they ruled us for 800 years. Then for next 200 years, the colonizers, the Christians, ruled us. And why were they colonizing? You think they were colonizing only just to loot your gold and your things? No. They were converting people into their faiths with swords and guns. That's why wherever Islamic tyrants went, all those societies were converted 100% into Islamic countries. Wherever colonizers went, including America, all those countries were converted into Christian countries. Do you realize that America is a Christian country? Why? Originally it wasn't a Christian country. Indonesia wasn't a Christian country. Afghanistan wasn't a Christian country. Turkey wasn't a Muslim country, Islamic country. All the civilizations converted. All cultures got converted. We did not convert. When we found freedom, we were still a Hindu society majority. Why? Because we accepted that there are million ways to reach the truth. Therefore, we had million ways, million minds. They could convert 1, 2nd, 3rd, 1,000, 100,000, but they couldn't convert millions and millions of ways. And this whole concept is called Anekantvad. If there is any Jain person here, is there any Jain? No Jain person here?
I studied there.
You studied there. Who is a Jain here?
Myself, right here.
Did you know about this? Anekantvad? No. The only fundamental of Jainism is Anekantvad, nothing else. Which means, Jainism is known for non-violence. But what people understand is that it means don't kill animals or living beings. That's not what Jainism is all about. Jainism is a specialization of Hinduism which simply believes that there are million ways to reach the truth. Denying any way is violence. Denying that your way is not right is violence. Thank you. The point I am trying to make here is that Hindu society is full of such greatness, which is not only about their own community, it is about the entire humanity. So when we talk about the concept of Vishwaguru, it is not a BJP slogan. I'm sorry, friends of BJP may not like it, but it's not BJP slogan. This was invented 5,000 years ago, not invented because we were Vishwagurus. Make America great again. Actually, our campaign should be Make India Vishwaguru again. And the only way India can become Vishwaguru again is by getting rid of these political agendas. And again believing in the greatness of Hindu civilization. That is the cause I am working for. Because we attach Vivekananda's name, I thought it's important for me to speak the truth. And this is the reason I made this film. Anybody who saw the film yesterday, it doesn't stick. It's not about different communities. It's not a communal film. A lot of people were expecting it will be about Muslim bashing and all that. No. My purpose was to tell people what happens when we deny somebody else's way of reaching the truth. This is what happens. That darkness, that pain, the suffering. And that's exactly what has been continuously, even after independence, being done in India. First in Jammu Kashmir, now you can see it happening in Bengal, you can see it happening in Kerala, to the extent that in USA, people are scared to use the word Islam, but you are free to abuse Hindus. Why is it happening? Because of the money power. India cannot do lobbying. Lobbying is illegal in India, therefore India does not do lobbying globally. We are living in a global world. Whereas Middle East and Pakistan and all these countries do a lot of lobbying. And therefore you will find our society is slowly becoming very reactive. And the problem with reactionism is that very often, it's like Stockholm syndrome, very often you start becoming like them. They say kill, you say why don't we kill? And that is wrong. I have a suggestion. And it's not just a suggestion, this is the only way out, which is let them do lobbying. Let them do whatever they have to do. Ignore them. Look at ourselves. We are a society of going inside. Their faith takes them outside. They want more land. They want to convert more people into their faith. They want the world to know that they are the most powerful. All these Abrahamic kind of philosophies and faiths, they want power by violence. Violence of mind, intellectual terrorism now. But we are the people who go inside. I have a suggestion. Discover our own strengths. Discover that we are the ones who created the concept of oneness. Discover that we are the ones who understood that for the humanity, it is very important to believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are the ones who understood that there are no others in this world. There is no duality. We are all one. This entire concept of oneness is symbolized through Shiva. We are the ones who understood that the power of education is the strongest and that is the only way to beat evil. And that's why we have Saraswati. Discover our own strengths and tell our story. Do not react to their story. And that's why we made this film called The Kashmir Files, which talks about our story, our pain, our suffering. It's not a reactionary film. So I took a pledge many years ago and I said that I will fill the universe with the greatness of Hindu philosophy. I have just one point agenda. I don't care about what others do. We live in the world of social media. Thousands and thousands of young students, we run a foundation called I Am Buddha Foundation. And that foundation is like no other foundation. It's not about distributing blankets or paying fees for education. We are making careers, we are making lives. We are making characters. We pick up all these young boys and girls who can't speak English, who don't know much about world, but they are very talented and rooted in Indian soil. We pick them up, we groom them, mentor them, and we make professionals out of them. And so many of them are today writers, musicians, filmmakers. In fact, the head researcher of Tashkent Files and this film is also a boy who was groomed by I Am Buddha. Today he's writing for other people and doing research for other people. And this comes from Vivekanand. Once said, give me 100 committed, I don't know whether it's 100 or 1,000, 100 I think he said. Give me 100 committed people and I will make Hinduism a global philosophy. And I was inspired by that. I said, I don't know about rest 99, but I can be one of them. And therefore, everything about my life, my children know that. Every breath I take, every penny I earn, every blessing I get, everything I return back by spreading the greatness of Hindu philosophy in the world. And I request all of you to fill the entire digital world by writing about our greatness. Please resist from abusing others. Please resist from being reactionary. Swami, it's very fashionable to take names like Swami Vivekananda, but in his entire speeches, his writing, Swami Vivekananda was never reactionary. Sri Aurobindo was never reactionary. Ramakrishna Paramhans wasn't reactionary. Maharshi Ramanna wasn't reactionary. These are the great soldiers of Hindu cause. They spoke about our own greatness with their own interpretations. Once you start doing that, I guarantee you, your children will also learn that. And all this complaint I hear that in Indian universities, once we send our children over there, all of them start hating everything about Hindu philosophy. This is happening because most of our society is becoming reactionary, and by becoming reactionary, we are becoming like one of them. So I am here on your behalf. I'll take this film wherever we can take it, whatever it takes. We will ensure that the cause of Kashmiri Pandit community finds its logical conclusion. Because justice to them will be justice to 1,000 years of suffering of Hindu society. My next agenda is to let the world realize, when they talk about empathy and compassion, today in US I am seeing everybody talks about American African community, the blacks community, with lot of empathy. People are looking at weaker, marginalized societies with lot of empathy. Lots and lots of money goes into that. If somebody even wants to question it, they are asked not to question, because broken hearts should not be questioned. I want the world to recognize that we suffered 1,000 years of torture. Next 70 years again we have suffered during Cold War, during 71 war, during 65 war. Even now, the world is not leaving us alone. So therefore, whenever you look at us, look with empathy, with compassion. Thank you very much.